Welcome back to the Fantasy Hustle. I'm your host, Jon G, with my sidekick over here, Brad D. Pretty interesting week 7, if I may say, Bradley. Had a lot of good games, a lot of just straight ass kickings, and some monumental things happen.
Yeah, it was a fun week. This is the first week, we had the early Sunday game, and that made a full Sunday of football starting at 8:30 in the morning, going all the way to 10 o'clock at night.
Mm-hmm.
So that's always fun. I know the NFL's doing that a little bit more every year now, and we got another one coming up this week. So
it's
really,
that good old flex schedule that always helps,
Yeah, and that too. So unfortunately, the Sunday game wasn't that good, but you did get a full day of football as soon as you woke up. Hopefully, you didn't,
drink it away.
Hopefully, you didn't drink too much Saturday night and not wake up in time to make a roster move before the big London game.
Most definitely. We'll see in that the Thursday night game was kind of weak. We saw the Broncos just push Denver Broncos, or the Denver Broncos pushing the Arizona Cardinals shit. So, kind of a weak Thursday night game as they have been. We had a couple of decent ones this week, but for the most part, Broncos, Colts, Rams, Vikings, and Chiefs all could have played with their practice squad. So, hopefully these teams get a little bit of a lesson learned, and some of them heading into the bye week can kind of shake it off here. But on the other side of the ball, there were a handful of tight games that came down to a final kick and even a Hail Mary. Yeah, it's unfortunate. But shit happens here, Chicago fans. First off, going across the pond, the Melvin Gordon-less Chargers held off the erratic Titans. Marcus Mariota going out there throwing his first red zone interception, even though he's only thrown 20 touchdowns in his career. Something to be proud of, I guess. But, it just shows he runs the ball and just tucks it.
Yeah.
And his team's awful, so he's got no one to throw it to, so you might as well.
They're so erratic. You don't know what you're getting out of them. It's a tough play every year. Deion Lewis actually looked good, so that's a plus. But, it's Chargers are now on the bye. Gordon, like you said, he had a hamstring injury, so let's hopefully he gets healthy here and he comes back week 9 ready to go.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see here. They definitely need him given the situation of that game. You thought Eckler was going to have a bigger part, but, they just kind of got the W and walked out of there. New England Patriots going into Soldier Field, being able to take the game away with 2 special team TDs. Granted, a second half Hail Mary effort by the Chicago Bears fell about 1 yard short. I happened to be at that game, and let's just say we were on the other side of the end zone. I thought he was in. I'm going crazy, and then I look at the Megatron. I'm like, well, you're drunk and you're wrong. So hard to duck out of that one. But I will say this: I wasn't too pissed off about the game. I think that I took nothing but good away from the Bears. Yeah, they had a couple things they could have corrected. Khalil Mack's hurt. I understand Gronk wasn't out, but all sides of things is probably the team's going to be in the AFC championship game,
sure, more than likely,
Super Bowl. So, given those regards, I take it away as a W for the Bears, and Mitch Trubisky's starting to find his way here. So, be interesting to see where we're at in 3 weeks.
Mitch, had some bad throws, but did some good things with his legs. So, if he can do that more often, that'd be great for them. And like you touched on, Khalil Mack's not healthy. And if he's not healthy, that defense just doesn't have that same bite that it had in those first 4 weeks.
Which is crazy because they were definitely a top 10 defense prior to Khalil Mack's arrival. And now I feel like maybe you should sit him. You know what I mean? Give him a week off going into kind of a weaker game against the Jets. But on the other side of things, I think it's going to affect the other players. They're going to realize, like, hey, if this is something, we got to step it up. We rode this guy's back. Yeah, we all kind of stepped it up a hair, but this guy was the reason why we were as dominant we were. So it's their time to kind of prove themselves and say, hey, when you're healthy, get back out here. Let's do what we got to do, be the number 1 defense in the league. But, all bearing that it's just a mild ankle sprain. So who knows here. But leaving Chicago in another devastating loss, Texans coming alive, showing they're staying in the division by handing the Jags a big old W and sending Blake Bortles to timeout.
Yeah. I think the biggest takeaway from that game is the Jaguars are in free fall right now. They don't have a quarterback. The defense isn't doing enough. And, all I was reading on Twitter after the game was there was so much fighting amongst the players in the locker room that, media members couldn't get in there right away. And they said, okay, come in. And then they told them, no, hold on, and shut the doors on them again. So it's a ugly situation there in Jacksonville. And this is what happens when you have a crap quarterback. And, more and more teams, come to this conclusion, have these high expectations, except for the quarterback. And then all of a sudden the whole thing falls apart. And I mean, you're going to see it probably in the next couple of years with other teams. Probably a team that I've been talking about for a while now, the Cowboys. Probably next year, the team's going to get frustrated because Dak sucks, and that team's going to fall apart too. But yeah, the Jaguars, unless this defense just steps up big time and they get a running game going and Bortles does enough, they're a huge disappointment, and they're probably going to miss the playoffs and not win a bad division.
Yeah, that's pretty unfortunate here, and I know a lot of Fournette owners are concerned given the pickup of Carlos Hyde and with the way T.J. Yeldon's been playing. Where do they stand with a guy who came and throw the rock? A lot of factors that are going to be turning out here in the next couple of weeks, and there's going to be some disgruntled defensive players, to say the least. Browns. Hey, way to go, Cleveland. You found another way to lose. Muffing a punt in overtime. Jabril Peppers, man, I thought you were a good player, but that's a bummer, man. That makes 24 straight road losses.
I sit there watching this.
I don't want to overdo it, but
we're gonna overdo that one today. I sit there watching this game, and my wife she's just going on and on. Well, they gotta be good because they can't be that bad because they keep getting to overtime. I'm like, good teams win in regulation. Good teams don't need overtime, and it's not like they're going to overtime and winning. They've won one of those 4 overtime games. They're still a bad team, and I think the main reason they might have the pieces there, that head coach Hugh Jackson, unfortunately,
he's awful.
He just doesn't have what it takes to be an NFL head coach. And I think his time's starting to run out there. I think this was his last year. If they don't win, if they don't turn around here in the second half of the season, we're getting to that point now. He's definitely gone. And that's the only hope Cleveland has.
Yeah, they'll just bump Todd Haley up to head coach and be another 3 terrible years. Who knows? Another topic, Drew Brees has now beaten every NFL team. And, on the flip side of things, to win that game, how he won that game was by the frickin' kicker missing the PAT.
His first ever missed extra point, Justin Tucker.
Yeah. So, pretty interesting game there. What I got out of that game is Baltimore Ravens is a legit squad. I know we've been talking about them each and every week. We're like, oh, look at the Ravens slowly climbing. And with the receiver like a John Brown. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's like, I would have never thought here.
With that receiving core, but with that quarterback, this is it's not Drew Brees we're talking about for Baltimore. It's Joe Flacco. And my big takeaway from what the Baltimore Ravens have done this year, because I thought they were going to be a bottom 5 team this year, is my takeaway is John Harbaugh is a brilliant coach. He is an absolute brilliant coach. I put him right below Bill Belichick. Like, Belichick's in a class of his own. Harbaugh's in the next class all by himself, and there's nobody up there. I think those 2 guys are head and shoulders above the third guy, and who knows who that is? I mean, Mike Tomlin maybe or whoever. But like I was saying, John Harbaugh's the reason Baltimore has had so much success for the last decade, and this is a team that, with that defense, can make some noise come December and January.
Your definition of success is what I really yearn for, because he's got 1 Super Bowl win. Good job for you, Mr. Harbaugh. But aside from that, you've been kind of just dusting the wind, baby. But so it's
who else has Super Bowl victories other than him, Belichick, Tomlin, and you're saying Mike McCarthy,
Pete Carroll.
He sucks, but he's got a Super Bowl win. So Super Bowl wins doesn't mean everything, especially when you have to go every single year. You have to beat Brady and Belichick in that conference. So I don't know. I just still think Harbaugh is clearly, when you look at the 32 coaches, he's clearly number 2.
Whatever. We'll let you keep thinking. Hey, more power to you. Getting back onto the subject, Carolina had a nice comeback victory led by Cam Newton here, beating the Eagles, following a dismal 83 total yards in the first half. Really had to turn things up here, and I think Olsen coming back is going to definitely benefit them here. But, they got to be smart not to rush him into too many. Got to watch his snap counts. You know what I mean? He's the type of guy Cam's going to rely on going down the season here. Yeah, Funchess is doing some solid work here. McCaffrey needs to pick up his touches. You know what I mean? He's almost seeming a little bit timid when he's hitting the box there. So I think he's got to kind of open up a little bit more, and they got to find out a little bit more ways to use him a little more on screens or even throwing him out wide.
Yeah, absolutely. You got to get him involved. He's one of those special players that needs to get his 15 to 20 touches a game.
But on the other side of things, the Eagles look really good too. I mean, Alshon Jeffrey is coming back here. A lot of fantasy owners are happy right now that they got him on their bench. Well, obviously in their starting lineup now at this point, but good thing that they sat on him for a while. So, and then last little interesting thing here: Adam Thielen became the second receiver in NFL history with 100 yards in his first 7 games. So, big ups to him because that's an impressive feat there for sure. And he's looking unstoppable at this point.
Yeah, this undrafted rookie or this undrafted free agent from Minnesota State has all of a sudden become the best receiver in football right now. Obviously, a lot can change, and when you look at pure talent, he might not be there, but what he's doing right now is unbelievable and good for him. I mean, this is a great story and keeps rolling. He's obviously got a lot of fantasy owners in really good shape this year.
Definitely. A little bit quick storyline. We're going to roll into the top players of the week here. Our ballers. Number 3, top 3 ballers, QB-wise, Pat Mahomes. Guy is just unbelievable. This is the cheat code, man. He's the fucking Contra cheat code is what he is.
He just every week.
358, 4 TDs, only 1 interception, but he also ran the ball 4 times for 45 yards. So I think he's trying to channel his inner Mitch Trubisky there, if I may say. Mitch Trubisky, 333, 2 TDs, 2 interceptions, costly, and could have been avoided. So I look a couple weeks down the road to see those kind of turn into maybe 3 TDs, 1 interception, you know what I mean? But he also won 6 for 81 and 1 TD.
Yeah, and obviously everyone talks about the rushing touchdown he had, which was an incredible play. He ended up running almost 72 yards total to get 8 yards. But the thing you mentioned about how those interceptions might turn around, he also had 2 passes that should have been picked off in the end zone that weren't. He did have a really good game as far as fantasy goes, but as far as an NFL player, he is a little suspect at times. So we'll see going forward here. Obviously I'm not high on him. You're probably still kind of hoping he's the guy, but...
Well, let's just take the Bears fan out of this conversation right now. I'm looking at what quarterbacks have done in the past couple weeks. Now, his numbers aren't outstanding, but they're definitely viable for a W. You know what I mean? And grant the Miami game, he had a little bit of mistakes here, but you got to realize this guy hasn't had a lot of game experience. Past high school.
Yeah, his last 3...
For him to be where he's at now, I'm gaining a little more confidence in him. I've been a big hater as far as Mr. Trubisky goes, so I want him to prove it to me. I want him to prove me wrong.
Yeah, well, the last 3 games, he's been a top 2 quarterback in fantasy, so he's getting it done in that regard. But there's still a lot of room for improvement, so you hope he figures that out and goes that way.
Yeah, well, I know that we're playing Brady, but 2 special teams touchdowns, can't really take him out of it. You know what I mean? He did what he needed to do. He needed to score points. So those small glitches and a little bit of rough play by the defense side of the ball kind of brought him down. You know what I mean? I don't blame this loss on him as much as I blame it on other sides of the ball. But he's my number 2. Number 3, Andy Luck. Although his passing total wasn't really too impressive, he still had 4 touchdowns, and I think that's pretty good for anyone in this day and age. So.
Yeah, Andrew Luck's been pretty good the last few weeks. He's getting it going here. The other guy I want to talk about, Cam Newton. They were doing nothing all game and then had that comeback, like you said. Mm-hmm. He ended up having a pretty good day there and beat the defending champs in Philly. So that was a good performance out of Cam Newton.
Definitely. On to the running backs. Number 1, Kareem Hunt. We talked about last week. He's starting to pick up steam here and start moving forward. And I think it's the perfect time for him. You know what I mean? As long as he doesn't, poop out here going into the playoffs. But 15 for 86 and 1 TD, and then caught 5 for 55 and 2 TDs. And he hurtled over that guy like it was nothing.
That run was insane. Yeah. Absolutely insane.
But big ups to Kareem, and hopefully he keeps it going here. Kind of a big surprise here. Just coming back from injury, Marlon Mack. 19 for 126 and a TD, and then 2 for 33 and a TD. So definitely like the way he's playing here, and Colts fans got to kind of expect something to pick up here with Andy Luck's return here, getting a little bit into the groove, and hopefully having that running back that's going to stay solid for him. I mean, Hines wasn't doing too bad prior weeks, but having Marlon Mack is kind of who they were kind of relying on initially, so hopefully they can pick things up there. And then the guy who's been in our top 3 every week, Todd Gurley. I mean, 63, 2 TDs, 4 for 23 in the TD. No matter what the guy, he touches the ball, he's going to get a TD. So, Todd Gurley, not going anywhere. But one of the notables I want to talk about, I know we both been pretty big on, especially for last week, was Kerryon Johnson, 19 for 158. No TD, but a hell of a performance for a Lions running back.
Oh, yeah. And again, like we've talked about week in and week out, why is LeGarrette Blount still getting as many touches as he's getting in the situations he's getting them? It should be all Kerryon Johnson all the time. He's clearly the better runner. He clearly has, leapfrogged, LeGarrette Blount by a mile now, and Definitely. He just needs to be the guy. So I don't know what the coaches are thinking there, but it's time to just make him the guy, completely the guy, no questions about it.
The guy. Out of the wide receivers, Emmanuel Sanders started things off here. Of course, I was playing him, kind of a little bit shaky there.
That sucks.
Yikes. But start things off, touchdown pass, 28 yards, and then ended up catching one of his own with 6 receptions and 102. So pretty solid game, if I may say. ODB stepping up big, 8 for 143 in the TD. His counterpart, Sterling Shepard, had a decent game himself. But he's not getting the number 3 spot. That's going to John Brown, who came in 7 for 134 in a TD. This is a guy who, when healthy, and he had the good surroundings there in Arizona with Carson Palmer, he was able to get open and down the field, man. And he showed the potential that he had back then. So, kudos to John Brown, man.
Yeah, he's been the best receiver on a team that's pretty good and pretty efficient on offense this year. The one guy you didn't say here that the only reason I'm bringing him up is because he's a tight end, and he had almost just as good of a game as the other guys you just mentioned. Trey Burton, 9 for 126.
I don't want to get called a homer.
I mean, when you're looking at the tight ends,
but I like it.
When you're looking at the tight ends this year, I mean, if you can get 6 points out of a tight end, either 60 yards and that's it, or just 5 yards and a touchdown. If you can get that out of your tight end, you're happy. He went out there and gave you 126 yards and a touchdown on 9 receptions. So if you're in PPR, it's even better. So I mean, he's right up there with Odell Beckham and John Brown. So
definitely
a huge week for him, and you got to talk about him because we don't do a tight end segment.
No, I know, and I was thinking about it. But like I said, I already threw Mitch up there, and I'm like, oh, wait, what's coming next?
We'll throw Trey Burton in there.
Funny thing about Trey is I just acquired him through a trade with Mr. Nolan. Trade him Tyler Boyd.
Oh, you shouldn't have done that.
It works out good. But, thanks, Dot. Helped me get that W. Appreciate it.
All right, so that's the ballers this week. A few fallers here. I'll start with the quarterbacks. Andy Dalton is a guy I was pretty high on this week going up against Kansas City. But unfortunately, Andy Dalton just struggles mightily in primetime games. He only threw for 148 yards. He only had 1 touchdown. He threw a pick. He just wasn't good. A huge disappointment for fantasy owners. Deshaun Watson continues to be less than you expected. He's dealing with a bruised lung, apparently, and it's so bad he couldn't even fly on the team plane. He had to take a bus from Houston to Jacksonville, which, I mean, I'm not a medical expert or anything, but
you sounded like it.
If you can't fly on a plane because you're worried about the pressure on the lungs, you're going to play in a football game where guys could potentially hit you over and over, especially against that defense. So, but anyway, it's just, Deshaun Watson's in a really bad spot right now, fantasy-wise. He's not doing what you need him to do. He's still turning the ball over at a high rate and just not throwing touchdowns. And the last quarterback here who kept his job somehow, Blake Bortles. He's been really bad this year. He's had a couple of flashes, but he's regressed mightily from where he was in the last few weeks of the regular season last year in the playoffs. And he's just been a total bust this year for Jacksonville, and probably going to keep them out of the playoffs unless they do something else there.
It's been a bust as a quarterback in the NFL.
Absolutely, especially 3rd pick overall.
Yeah.
The running backs here, there's 2 that jump out off the page at me. Ezekiel Elliott had 15 carries, only 33 yards, just couldn't do anything, and I don't know if that's more of because Cowboys are so one-dimensional. You know what they're going to do most of the time.
This is a second career low, I believe.
But this is what the Cowboys have been doing for a long time, so you kind of expect at this point. So he's always capable of a huge game. But when he has this kind of game, you kind of half expect it because of Dallas's one-dimensional offense. The other guy that had a bad game is Mark Ingram. 2 weeks ago when he came back from his suspension, he had that huge game. You were loving it. He comes out this week, only gets 12 carries for 32 yards. He chips in a little in the passing game, but still, he was a bad play this week for fantasy owners, and he might have cost some people. And I know the Ravens, he went up against the Ravens, it's a really good defense, but you still expect a little bit more. You still maybe a touchdown or something to bump those numbers up.
That's a tough environment to go into.
Absolutely.
And I will say this, though, as far as Zeke's concerned, Washington has been playing pretty stout against running backs this year. Had a couple slip-ups, but for majority of it, I'd say probably 70% of their games, they've been doing pretty solid against the run. So given the stats, I don't think I'd be worried if I'm a Zeke owner. You know what I mean? I'd be more worried about the Ingram situation because you still got them carried between him and Kamara.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's going to definitely affect a lot of things.
Yeah, absolutely. The other two running backs I have here, they were fallers because of injury. Sony Michel, who in the Bears game, looked like a pretty gruesome injury.
Mm-hmm.
We'll get to that a little later on. He only had 22 yards, and he also fumbled on that play, so he got you a bad week there. I think it was 1.5, 2 points, depending on how your PPR scoring is. And then LaShawn McCoy, very early in the game, gets knocked out with a concussion, and he gets you a 0. So that's the fallers there for the running backs. And really quickly, receivers, Corey Davis, in London, three receptions for 10 yards. Not very good. Tyler Boyd, as a result of Andy Dalton not being good in prime time, he was 3 catches for 27 yards. And then lastly, Stephon Diggs. If you're not in a PPR league, this is upsetting. He had 8 receptions for 33 yards. That's boggles the mind.
Yeah.
Because he's such a good player when he gets the ball in his hands that he can do so many great things, and that's all they can get for him. So,
and it's a shame because you think his counterpart producing the way he is,
100 yards every single week. Yep. So that's all of our ballers this week. We'll go into the injuries here. I touched on Michel. He injured the knee. MRI shows no structural damage, so looks like he escaped. He's week to week. He'll probably miss this week Monday night game against the Bills. And then after that, you just got to keep an eye on it. But that could have been a huge blow for fantasy owners and New England.
Yeah.
But he does escape.
Well, I'll tell you what, James White has been pretty damn solid this whole year. So, I mean, Sony Michel had about 2 games there, was trying to show his presence. What did White do? Hop right up and had 2 touchdown passes. So,
that's the thing.
Buyer beware there.
White's great pass catcher. After Michel as a, between the tackles runner, it's Kenyon Barner, and I don't know how much you really trust him.
Yeah.
So you want Sony Michel in there and plus, he is a guy that I think could be a top 10 running back if he plays, if he's healthy and gets in there and gets his stats. The other guy we talked about, McCoy, he had the concussion. He'll probably, go through the concussion protocol. I don't know if you want to play him because, like I said, he plays on Monday night, so it's a tough little thing there. If he doesn't go, if he's ruled out Monday night, you can't really put someone in for him. So you want to get someone else in there for McCoy. Now the big injury here, Marshawn Lynch. He had the groin injury. He was on bye last week. They put him on IR. So he's effectively done for the year and out for the season. So Jalen Richard and Doug Martin step up. They get more carries. Doug Martin obviously is going to take over as the bulk guy. He's going to get the most carries here. But Jalen Richard, or Richard, whatever you want to call him.
Frenchie.
Yeah. I think
Dick.
He's going to get the bulk of the receptions. We know that. But he's going to be on the field more now, and he'll probably get a couple more carries here and there. The last running back I got, Royce Freeman. He has a high ankle sprain. What was first reported as a high ankle sprain, so it might not be that because he's day-to-day. The big thing here is if it is something serious like that and he plays and he aggravates it, this could be something serious. So this could be huge, huge news for Philip Lindsay. And I think, honestly...
I don't think it really matters now because I think Philip Lindsay's sprung ahead weeks ahead. And this past game definitely has showed it even more so.
But I think the coaching, you can't rely on the coaching staff to think that way because they're still giving him the Royce Freeman. They're still giving Devontae Booker carries and receptions, which is mind-boggling. So I think at the end of the day, if Freeman's out, Lindsey is a number one running back. With Lindsey a go, he's still a running back too. But keep an eye on this situation. If Royce is out, which I think he will be probably this week, Lindsey's a must go. And then real quickly here, I only got a couple.
You keep saying real quickly.
I only got a couple of receivers here.
Oh shit!
And they're all Thursday night guys this week. Kiki QT, he's got a hamstring injury. He's going to miss this week.
And related to Kwame.
And then for the Dolphins, you have Kenny Stills. He's got a groin injury. He's going to miss this week. And Albert Wilson, the hero from 2 weeks ago, is going to miss significant time with a hip injury. Might go on IR. So the Dolphins...
Why you got to bring up old shit, bro?
The Dolphins and Texans are both down some receivers for this Thursday night game, which, hey, it's going to be a great Thursday night game because Thursday night games are great. Injuries are done. Now, this time of the year, we get into trades. 2 big trades happened.
There have been 2 big trades, and I think...
There was a third one that happened today, but there's 2 big fantasy-relevant ones.
Okay, so we'll start off. Obviously, the more famous one from everyone. Amari Cooper getting traded for a first-round pick to the Dallas Cowgirls. Now, awful trade by the Cowgirls. Gruden, I'll give you a little bit of credit here. All right, you really pass along some damaged goods. A guy who couldn't put it together. A guy who is awful, just like his counterpart, the number 2 wide receiver, Kevin White. Albeit he did catch that Hail Mary. But bottom line is, Cowboys, you got the W in this trade here. Big ups.
The Cowboys
I'm sorry. Let me clear my throat. The Cowboys lost in the trade here. Oakland got a little bit of something, but Gruden, you're spiraling downhill, so you're screwed.
Yeah, whenever you get a first-round pick for a guy that's not a quarterback or a pass rusher, those are the 2 most important positions in my estimate of an NFL team. Whenever you get a first-round pick for someone like that, and let's face it, wide receivers, you can get them anywhere up and down the draft. Man, I mean, yeah, sure, you have a couple of scenarios a few years ago. Obviously, the Odell Beckham class was incredible, but since then, it's really been a crapshoot in the first round. And so you go out there, you get a guy that's got a couple of Pro Bowls. That's nice. You know, I mean, what are you really going to do with that first-round pick next year if you're Dallas? So originally I was thinking Dallas completely lost this trade. I still think they lost the trade, but I think if you get Amari Cooper or a rookie receiver for next year, who would you rather have? A guy that's proven that he can be a Pro Bowler or a guy that's completely unproven? Now, I know...
Proven that he could be a Pro Bowler. And he stumbled in because no one wanted to go to the Pro Bowl, first off.
That could
He was
be.
like a 4th ballot Pro Bowler.
He did have 2 very good years in Oakland. But at the end of the day, I think it's one of these trades that you look at and say, you know, what is Oakland doing? They're just trading away everyone. They're not going to have anything left. John Gruden's just going to tear it all down and try to build it all back up. And that might work if he can draft well. He's got 3 first-round picks now. If he can draft well, great. But we know first-round picks are, you know, hit or miss. So this could be a complete crapshoot. And what is he going to do with those first-round picks? He's going to need to acquire a pass rusher, which he traded away, and a receiver, which he traded away. So it's really tough with these trades here. But I think ultimately the Raiders won this trade, yes. But it's not a landslide victory for them, I don't think.
Just waiting for you to finish your thesis over here.
So that's...
so what's your final answer here?
Well, what I want to talk about, the fantasy relevance, is what does it do for the Cowboys, fantasy players, and what does it do for the Raiders? Left. There's plenty of time.
All right. So Jalen Richard and Doug Martin, their relevance comes into play because now they're going to be relied on, I think, a heck of a lot more. You got Jordy Nelson there. You got Jared Cook. Their production, does Jordy step up to that number 1? He could. He's been that guy. He's been that before. You know what I mean? So I could see his production pick up here. Jared Cook, I think he'll rely on a little bit more too.
I think Cook's the big one. I think he's definitely the guy that becomes more the focal point of the offense now. So I think he's got the most bump in value.
Definitely. Dallas sides of the ball, I'm not even going to talk about their value because I don't really think they got too much. I think Oakland's going to be the more relevant here.
I think the only guy that benefits from this is probably Zeke because you do have an option out there now. So maybe defenses have to worry about that a little bit. We don't know for sure.
Yeah, but we'll see how long it takes when they'll get the playbook to even get in the game. So you're talking weeks.
But you get, if you're a Amari Cooper owner, you get the back-to-back buys. Oakland was out this week.
I don't know if that's
now
a benefit.
He's out this week again, so he gets the week to. It's a benefit because you don't have to put him in your lineup. You don't get a 0 for him in your lineup. He's on your bench getting a 0.
No, because you were thinking as an Oakland owner, like, oh, I got Amari Cooper, he's on a bye. Maybe I need him this week because I got 2 other people. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, now he's on another bye. So now I got to go drop somebody just to go get him. Theoretically speaking, but all right, we're good.
I'm thinking you only have 13 weeks of this guy now because you have 15 weeks of the regular season essentially because week 17 nobody plays. So you only have 13 weeks now because he had 2 buys. Beautiful. I'll take that any day of the week. Moving on to the other trade. The other big fantasy relevant trade, Carlos Hyde going from the Browns to the Jaguars. A huge shocker of a trade when it happened on Friday afternoon. And it really raises the question of what is going on with Leonard Fournette.
Yeah, I really think that he's really banged up here. And I've been talking about it for a while here because, for one, he was injury-prone majority of his career, even in college, coming into this. And when he sat out 4 games last year, that first time he was questionable, I'm like, it's starting. You know what I mean? It's considered to be a continuous thing, and it is. To the point that Carlos Hyde had to get sent over from the Browns here. Now, it's not like Hyde was doing pitiful over there in Cleveland because you know what he's got going on over there.
Yeah, he's had a couple of games here and there.
Yeah, so for Cleveland to mount up and actually, or let's just say Jacksonville, to ask for that, you know what I mean, and kind of get a little compensation, there's a big factor there and a red flag that I'm not liking. And if TJ Yeldon isn't producing the way that they're expecting him to be, because I think he's a good pass-catching back, but as far as being their every down runner, he's just not that guy, and you're going to burn him out here in a couple weeks.
Yeah, I think Yeldon just falls back into his role that he was in when Fournette was healthy. There's no change there really for Yeldon at the beginning of the year. Obviously, he's not. This is what you expect. When Fournette got back, you expected Yeldon to kind of take a back seat and only be that pass-catching guy. So that doesn't really change there for Yeldon. The big change, though, is when Fournette gets back, what's it going to look like with him and Hyde trying to both be the bell cow? I would imagine it's going to be like a 65-35 situation with Fournette getting the majority of it. But this also signals to me is you never know because Fournette's going to re-aggravate it. He's going to get re-hurt, something like that. And then that's why they went out and got Carlos Hyde. So I originally thought maybe Fournette's going to go on IR. Obviously, it hasn't happened yet, so I don't think it's going to happen at all. So that tells me that Hyde's just going to be that insurance policy if he does re-injure himself.
Well, when you dump all that money into the team and the defense for that matter, you got to...
Carlos Hyde's not cheap. He got
I'm saying everything's on the table right now here. So you're really putting everything out there, and you got to because you're already pot invested. So, yeah, that'll be interesting to see here and kind of see whose status goes up here.
Obviously, it murkies Fournette. You don't know what you're getting out of him now. Yeldon probably goes down a little bit, but that was expected with Fournette coming back. On the Cleveland side of things, Nick Chubb's now the guy. He's going to be the number 1 back for Cleveland, and that it might not mean a whole lot, but he's going to get the opportunities.
Hey, but don't just put Duke Johnson down.
Well, no. I mean,
because in the PPR league, I think he's extremely valuable now.
Yeah, I think he's going to get pretty darn close to 100% of the pass catching situation, third down situation, or second and long.
Yeah,
and I think that's huge for him too. But instead of a 3-headed monster there in Cleveland, now it's down to Chubb and Duke, who are 2 completely different running backs. So that should play very well with each other.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see here how Chubb manages. So he's going to have a couple decent matchups coming up, which is going to probably help him choose his fate if he's going to be able to take over that number 1 role, or they're going to have to kind of look in a different direction here.
And then lastly here, the last trade I mentioned is not really fantasy relevant, but Eli Apple was traded from the Giants to the Saints. So the Saints now have...
Oh, that's a game changer.
Have 3 Ohio State cornerbacks in there.
That's a stat.
3 Ohio State defensive backs patrolling that secondary. And one more thing here. Mike McCoy was fired as the offensive coordinator for the Cardinals. Byron Leftwich steps in, so it's go time.
What's up, repeat? Just keep.
We didn't touch on this one because we had the screw up.
Oh, maybe.
We're laughing.
We're
very good friends.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Byron Leftwich. Well, now that wraps up a long week 7, to say the least, and we're going to kick into our week 8, starting off with one of our favorite segments. Who you got?
Hey, who you got?
Who you got?
Yeah, come on. Who you got?
Hey, who you got?
Hey, John, who you got?
Well, who I got this week for you is Mitchell Trubisky at home against the Jets.
Ooh, Mitch is a hot topic this week.
Or Carson Wentz at the Jaguars.
This is interesting because these two defenses, the Jets and the Jaguars, are both ranked in the top 6. Jaguars are 5th. Jets are 6th against quarterbacks this year. So right away you look at it as, okay, 2 good defenses doing things to shut down quarterbacks. Where I ultimately go to is, in that situation, who's the better quarterback? And obviously, the better quarterback is Carson Wentz. Now, this isn't a true home game for the Jaguars. It's in London. It'll be early morning for us. And it'll be, I think it'll be a big, big game for the Eagles. Carson Wentz has been phenomenal. He's been clearly the best player in Philadelphia this year since he's come back. And I think he's going to continue to do this. And I think he's going to put up a big game. Now, Trubisky is a good play this week. I think at home, coming off back-to-back losses, they need this win, and the defense is kind of taking a step back, and Mac's not healthy, so he's going to have to step up, and especially we've seen the running game step up for him. So I do like Trubisky, but in this scenario, give me Wentz over Trubisky. And now, hot topic. Who you got? Deshaun Watson on Thursday night against Miami, or Trubisky taking on the Jets?
I really like Trubisky coming, sitting at home hosting the Jets, team that's just got their butts kicked by the Vikings and still haven't put things together here. Sam Darnold's just an awful quarterback, and albeit their defense has been pretty stout here on the run side of things, where Chicago's still trying staunch, trying to figure things out here. But I look at Deshaun Watson, the way he's made a comeback, the way they have started this season, and just how valuable he's been to this team. Been able to their defense is playing just some tremendous ball right now. I think they had like 4 or 5 sacks the last game. When Watt and Clowney get going, that's just the start of things, and it makes their secondary even better here. Going into Miami. Now, Miami just got their tail kicked in.
Game's in Houston.
Well, they're going to be going in Miami, if you know what I mean.
Oh, okay.
Oh, that hurt.
So once they're in Miami, per se, Watson's is going to tear it apart. I mean, Lamar Miller's going to come back, rush for another 100-yard game. God knows the last time he's rushed in multiple 100-yard games.
Revenge game.
Yeah. I mean, I really think that Miami's just at a point here. The Bears win was something kind of for the fans and the morale of the city, but as far as the rest of the season goes, they're done. They're done here. So, with no ado, I'd like to say that Deshaun Watson's going to be one of the top players of the week here.
All right. So, are you going with Trubisky or Watson? Very confused.
Watson.
Okay.
Listen, I didn't talk for 10 minutes like you to go back and forth.
Well, I like this guy. I like this guy.
I'm pretty sure originally you said
pretty good.
We're on the tape. Stratton's not here, so
Stratton.
never mind.
Turn it off. All right, running back. So you got Marlon Mack at Oakland or Philip Lindsay at Kansas City?
Okay, so obviously Marlon Mack had this huge coming out party last week, and that was basically because they were playing the Bills. Now, the Raiders aren't very good either, but they are coming off a bye, and I would hope that they're planning to kind of find a way to shut him down. Like I talked about earlier on in the segment when we had the injuries, I don't know how healthy Royce Freeman is. And if Lindsay is going to be a 80% of the snap guy, you have to play him no matter what situation you're in here. And especially against Kansas City, who's not the strongest of defenses. So Give me Lindsey here in a landslide. I think Mac kind of comes back down to earth a little bit.
Okay. It's respectable. I think I might have to roll that route given the situation in Denver.
All right, your running backs here. We're going to go back to Thursday Night Football, and Lamar Miller, who you just talked about, is taking on the Dolphins. Or you got Adrian Peterson at the New York Football Giants.
Well, that's kind of a tough one here because I don't think either running back is too exciting in these matchups here. But as I just mentioned, Lamar Miller has ran for 100 yards last week, and I think that he's getting a little more momentum with Sean Watson playing the decrepit Dolphins. So the only thing in reality I could say is Lamar Miller, hands down. AP, you've been running, you've been doing what you have to do, but your quarterback's got two injured, the 1 and 2 wide receivers, and tight end's still dead from about 3 years ago.
Vernon Davis or Jordan Reed?
Jordan Reed.
Either way, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, either one. Yeah. So the only way they're going to save themselves is if the kicker just kicks the whole game, which could possibly happen and kind of save it, but that's not going to help Adrian Peterson's fantasy points here. So the fact that Alex Smith can't move the ball, I'm going to have to go with Lamar Miller.
Okay. I think John just told everyone Dustin Hopkins, kicker for Washington's the stream of the week
actor?
For kickers. Yes, Dustin Hopkins.
Alrighty, wide receiver Sterling Shepard versus Washington or Golden Tate versus Seattle.
Now, this is kind of a revenge game for Tate, right? I mean, going back to Seattle, going up against Seattle, that's in Detroit. But what we talked about last week, what really concerns me with Detroit is you never know who's going to be the guy there. Is it going to be Jones? Is it going to be Galladay? Is it going to be Tate? And I think that's too much of a question mark for me to go up against a very good Seattle secondary. This Seattle defense has really been strong against passing offenses, so I'm going to completely stay away from that. And I think Shepard's going to continue to roll. He had a very nice game last night, actually, on Monday night against the Falcons, albeit the Falcons team that's completely crappy and all that. But he had a ton of yards. He's going to continue to do that. And I think against the Skins, he's going to find a way to do just enough to be better than Golden Tate here. Because Golden Tate's not going to be a guy that's going to get you touchdowns. I mean, he might get you one, but he's going to be, the short yardage guy, receiving guy that gets you a ton of receptions, low yardage, where Shepard's going to be a guy that gets you probably average receptions, big yardage. So I'll take Shepard.
Is that your final answer?
Shepard. All right, our last who you got here is receivers. I'm going to need 2 of these 3. Got Tyler Boyd going up against the Bucks, Juju Smith-Schuster going up against the Browns, or Kenny Galladay going against the Seahawks. All those games, Galladay, they're all at home in those games.
They're all at home, huh? Well, I really like Boyd, which is why it was a little bit hard for me to trade, Dot for Trey Burton. But I think that he's going to turn around this week with the Bucks here. Him and Andy. Juju, I like him over Antonio Brown in this matchup here, honestly. I think Ben can rely on him a little bit more. He'd like to hang out in that slot a bit more. And if you next time you watch the game, just watch Juju like to stand right in front of Ben's, vision. Even if he knows he's not going deep, he knows he'll get at least 15 yards. And that's how he's been racking them up, which I give him credit for because I got him in the PPR league. But Galladay, Seahawks, like you said, with Golden Tate in that regard, you don't know who's going to get the ball there. And the way they run the ball, I think that it's going to take back a little bit of Stafford's pain as far as trying to stretch the field here. Just let Carry-On kind of do it and the other running backs if they get some touches. So between Boyd and Juju, I'm going to have to go with Juju just for the fact that Ben likes him so much. He's not bitching, he's just playing ball. And in reality, that's what a quarterback wants. He wants a guy who wants to go out there and win. And Antonio Brown keeps his bitching. We'll see what happens there. But expect Boyd to have a good game. But Juju's the answer there.
So you need 2.
Two? Oh, then yeah. Tyler Boyd for sure. I thought it was just the oneer.
Yeah. The thing about Juju, he's clearly the best of these 3 receivers. Sorry, but He's got clearly the worst matchup. The Browns actually have been pretty good against the passing game, and maybe that's a lot because Denzel Ward has been way better than we all expected.
Yeah.
But again, if he's going up against Antonio Brown and Juju's free to run the field, you might be onto something there.
Yeah.
So yeah, I like Juju and Boyd. They're I mean, like I said, Juju's clearly the best guy, and Boyd's got the matchup that you just absolutely love.
Yeah, most definitely. Well, now that we wrapped up the Who You Got segment, we're going to roll on quickly to our top 3. But before we get in there, in case you want to be on our Who You Got segment next week, or you got some questions you'd like to ask, here's how you can get hold of us or send us hate mail.
Get on the Twitter machine. We're still on there. That's at fantasy_hustle. Get on there. We'll be providing things throughout the year about, special things that we got going on that we like and who all that. We're good fun tweeters. Twitterers.
Wow.
Tweeters. And if you get on our Twitter, you're going to see our email. That's Jon G's Fantasy Hustle @gmail.com.
There's no H.
There's no H in John. Remember that. And then you're also going to see our voicemail on there. That's 219-576-6797. We actually got a call, but it wasn't serious. So we're still waiting for our first serious phone call. So, call in and,
Or you can call us at the studio. We got a studio line here. It is 281-330-8004.
I wonder whose number you just gave out.
Mike Jones, who? Mike Jones, who? Alrighty, now let's kick it into our top 3 for the week. So, I'm going to go first, Brad. I'm going to go first, too, because I'm going to do a little rotation, because you think you're copying off me, and then all of a sudden you start copying off.
I never think I'm copying off you.
Oh, you're copying off of me. Yeah.
He's copying off me.
Liar. So going into week 8, I'm going to look at my quarterbacks. Now, my top 3 quarterbacks I got going here is Deshaun Watson, hosting Miami. Tom Brady, rolling into Buffalo. I think coming off that last one was pretty big for him. Gronk. Probably going to expect Gronk back. And I think this is going to be where he kind of pads his stats up a little bit more here. And my last one is Matthew Stafford versus Seattle. I think that Kerryon Johnson showing his relevance in that game. It's going to kind of take a little bit of pressure off of Matt here and allow him to maybe get to some of those guys. Golden Tate, Jones Jr., or
Galladay. Yeah.
Who you got, bro?
My quarterbacks are Kirk Cousins, number 1. I think this is going to be the shootout of shootouts. The rematch of the miracle in Minneapolis, New Orleans at Minnesota, and Cousins is like, hey, look, I don't need a miracle. I'm better than Case Keenum. I'm just going to beat you normal. So Cousins is the guy there. Second, I got Jared Goff. They're finally at home now after 3 road games, and they're taking on Green Bay, who's giving up their fair share of yards through the air. So give me Goff number 2. And I have a huge bounce back game here for Andy Dalton. Like I said, Andy Dalton, not good.
Old Red.
The good old red rifle. Not good in primetime. Terrible in primetime. If you look at his numbers, they're awful. But now he's at home at noon, 1 o'clock Eastern time, against Tampa Bay. Yeah, give me Andy Dalton.
Right on. Who you got on the running back side of things?
Number 1, I'm going James White. The Sony Michel injury is huge. I don't think Kenyon Barner is going to be the guy that Michel was, so they're going to rely more heavily on White, and he's going to reward fantasy owners and the New England Patriots very, very handsomely. Secondly, I got Phillip Lindsay. Like I talked about earlier, I don't think Royce Freeman, if he plays, is going to be 100%, and I think Lindsay is going to be the guy that gets the bulk of the snaps. And going up against Kansas City, that's good news. They have a couple extra days to prepare because they're on Thursday night as well. Lastly, Lamar Miller is my guy here that I absolutely love, and anybody that goes up against the Dolphins defense as a running back has had great success this year, and I don't think it stops now. I think Lamar Miller, in a revenge game, goes out there and just says, you know what, you guys, you could have had me. You didn't. Jay Ajayi, you traded him. Kenyon Drake's nothing. You signed Frank Gore. You could have had just me, Lamar Miller, and he's going to run wild.
And that would have been bad for 4 years.
But, hey, he's going to have one good night.
Whatever. Revenge game. I like it. All right. I got a guy here, first off, that everyone's been waiting for him to kind of show up this season. And I think this week's going to be a week, as you talked about, David Johnson.
Yes!
David Johnson. Now, Byron Leftwich is going to run some great plays for him here, being the new offensive coordinator. David Johnson's going to run for over 130 yards, 2 touchdowns, and David Johnson's going to drag him across the field like he was a quarterback back in the day to shake the other coach's hand. So that's why I'm rolling with that one here.
That is
on
our
a porous San Francisco defense.
Yeah, our most irrelevant game of the week.
Most definitely. Number 2, Latavius Murray. I don't think Dalvin Cook's coming back here this week. Matter of fact, I think he might be out another week beyond this, which is going to be unfortunate for his fantasy owners. But them Latavius Murray owners better get him in the game here. I know he's playing a tough New Orleans offensive line, or defensive line, but I really think that he's showing a heck of a lot of progression here. You know, he's starting to get that confidence in the back of his head, like, hey, this could be a little bit of a longer job than I thought it was going to be. So I just picture him stepping it up here and definitely running tight for the Minnesota Vikings. My last one, guy who's been on my top 3 the past couple weeks, is Kerryon Johnson. I think Kerryon's going to do some big things here this week. And I think that his running last week is going to help the offense kind of unfold here, which is going to be scary for the division foes here, looking on the outside in, because a lot of people are looking down thinking Patricia didn't have what it takes to kind of get things going. The defense is slowly starting to turn things around here. And with that offensive clicking, man, it's going to be tough to find out who's going to get that wild card spot out of the NFC North.
Yeah, I just want to touch on the Murray-Cook situation. The Vikings have a bye week in 2 weeks, so it wouldn't be absurd for them to rest Cook for these next 2 weeks and then go into the bye week and then try to get him back week 11 healthy.
But I'd be pretty pissed because he'd be on my bench and I won't make the playoffs.
Yeah, I got him on my bench too.
But it's all right. If they lose, I'm happy as a Bears fan.
Of course.
Of course. Of course. Getting into the wide receivers here. First off, I got a guy who's got history with the guy he's going against here, and that's ODB going up against Mr. Norman. Now, I know coming into Washington, they've had beef from back in the day when he was on Carolina, and I think ODB's so ticked off here that he's going to kind of put up that effort here and kind of go get some. I know people are calling it a tough matchup, but I love seeing these two guys go at it here, and that's why I'm expecting a very intense game. My number 2 guy, Stephon Diggs. We've been talking a lot about Adam Thielen.
Deservedly so.
Which is rightfully so, correct. But I think Stephon Diggs, this is a game that he kind of comes back, puts up maybe a touchdown, 120, for him to kind of fit back into the mold over there in Minnesota. And my last guy, give me Josh Gordon. I like Josh Gordon having a multi-touchdown game here. Give him 150 receiving yards here against the Buffalo Bills. I know that they got a pretty solid secondary, but Uncle Tom's in town, and he's going to take care of some business, so y'all better watch out.
And with Josh Gordon, Gronk's no sure thing. So if he's out again, just more targets and more opportunity for Gordon. Real quickly here, my receivers. Number 1, I like Doug Baldwin. I think Seattle's going to start passing the ball more now that Baldwin's healthy, and they're coming off the bye here. Going to Detroit in a dome, Baldwin's going to have a big game. Next, T.Y. Hilton got his feet back under him. He's healthy now. He had 2 touchdowns. He had a nice performance this week. And now he goes to Oakland, who is dreadful at stopping the pass. So expect him to have a big game. And our number 1 receiver this week, Emmanuel Sanders, is going to be in for another big game against Kansas City. I think he's clearly the best guy there in Denver, and they're going to find a way to get him the ball as much as possible,
even if he's
in the
got to throw
passing
it.
game. Even if he has to throw it to the rookie Sutton.
Yeah.
But Sanders is going to have a big game as well, and that's our top 3s.
That's our top 3, yo. Now we're going to get into our game picks. Make this a nice quick one here, starting off with a Thursday night. Miami creeping into H-Town.
Well, my stat here is Miami has been outscored 98-14 in their last 3 seasons on Thursday Night Football. They've all been on the road, and this game is in Houston, so Miami is going to lose to Houston.
My synopsis is going to be a lot quicker. Miami sucks. You said everything that's right about them, so you can agree with they suck. Even though they beat the Bears.
Rathburn logic, that means the Bears suck.
Hey, whatever you guys say. No, deep down, I'm gonna really go with Watson here. I like Watson having a huge game. And I think you're right about Lamar Miller. Maybe he's able to step it up here a little bit here. Their wide receivers kind of need to pick it up a little bit more. And albeit the Dolphins have stayed decently solid, in a couple of the games this year, looking a little bipolar, I think I gotta go with the Texans here. I think that's an easy one. The Eagles heading into Jacksonville.
Jacksonville couldn't have a worse time to go to London. They need a home game that they can really dominate, and unfortunately they didn't do it last week. Now they got to go to London, and Philly's going to destroy Jacksonville. I think this is going to be a bad game for Jacksonville. Someone's going to get left in London.
I like that. I'm going to go with the Eagles also. It's tough because I agree with you that I really think that if it was in Jacksonville, there may have been something that can kind of change the environment. But I think Carson Wentz is just going to destroy him out there. So look for this to be an ugly one, folks. Baltimore Ravens rolling into Carolina.
This is a very good game. I mean, Baltimore has shown that they are a lot better than we all expected. Carolina's still, doing what they do. They win games and they're relevant. And I think at home, Baltimore is going to get a little dose of reality going up against a tough division back-to-back weeks, and they're going to lose again at Carolina. Carolina's going to win this game.
Okay. I respect that, but I'm going to have to disagree here. I think that your second best coach of all time
No.
in our era that's playing now
right now
of the Harbaughs is going to get his victory down in the Carolinas here.
He's the best Harbaugh going for sure. And the other guy couldn't hack in the NFL.
Hey, he wears good khakis though.
He does have some good khakis.
But quite frankly, I just think that Cam has not been able to be himself throughout the weeks that Greg's been gone. Do I think he can turn it around? Possibly, but I just do not believe that the Panthers are going to be that team that wins that division. And I think he's got a little bit of experimenting to do here. And by experiment, it means put that ball in McCaffrey's hands and go lead block for him or something. You know what I mean? Make yourself useful. Baltimore, very surprising. I like their defense. I like their receivers because they're not hard-headed, typical number one guys, and they just play the game. And that's what you need in a game like this. So give me Flacco. Bring in the house.
Shane Falco.
The New York Jets rolling into Soldier Field.
Chicago can't lose 3 straight games to the AFC East. And the Jets don't have enough firepower to hang with this defense. So Chicago's going to win probably pretty easily.
Chicago Bears just signed Terrell Pryor to lay him off before the game to let him know that he sucks.
Revenge game? No.
Yeah. Sorry, buddy. You suck just like them. I'm going to take this Bears by 30.
30. Wow, okay.
Buccaneers heading into Cincinnati.
Tampa Bay's got a great offense, but they don't travel well. And Cincinnati, coming off a terrible performance on Sunday Night Football, is going to right the ship. They are a good team, probably a playoff team. They're going to get this win at home, and Andy Dalton's going to rebound in a big way.
I'm going to go with Tampa Bay here. I think Jameis Winston's going to kind of come back and realize that, hey, this is my team now. I need to move forward. I got the weapons that I need here. And if I got to figure out who's the better running back here to get this team moving forward, then I'll figure that out myself. So give me the Bucks. Seahawks coming into Detroit.
Seahawks coming off the bye, having to go to Detroit. This is a tough one for me. I really like Seattle, and I think they're going to kind of pick it up here. But at the same time, I think Detroit is picking up momentum. I think Stafford, like you said, with the running game, the best running game he's ever had with Kerryon Johnson, is going to be a little more relaxed and be able to pick Seattle apart. So I think that's just enough to get Detroit to win a tight game here. So yeah, give me Detroit.
I like the Detroit pick here. And I'm going to agree with you because I have a handful of their guys being the leaders of this week. Do I like the bye? And the Seahawks kind of got a little bit of a rest to kind of get things together here. Yeah, Tyler Lockett's playing some good ball. Looks like Chris Carson finally wants to step up and be that lead guy there, giving Rusty a little bit of leg room there. But in the bottom, I guess the benefactor is the Detroit Lions are turning things around here, and they're saying, hey, we're real. Leader divisions 3-3. We want some of that action.
Best division in football, the NFC North.
Yep. So, give me Detroit. We got the Denver Broncos heading into Arrowhead. Who you got?
Yeah, Denver coming off the Thursday night game has a little more time to prepare. I just don't think it's enough. I think Kansas City at Arrowhead is too strong. That offense is incredible. They have too many weapons. Mahomes finds a way to win this game.
Yeah, I don't think it has the same factor as it did up at Mile High last time they played. You know, that altitude definitely gets some people sometimes, and it kind of gave the Broncos a semi-chance to get there. But, I mean, you said it right there. Patrick Mahomes, Tyreek Hill. Hell, you could just throw those two guys in the field and they'll probably win. And Kareem Hunt. We'll go those three.
And Travis Kelce. And Sammy Watkins.
And then their left tackle, Eric something. Yeah, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, give me the Chiefs. That's a given.
And then Mahomes' left arm.
Yeah, that's a possibility. Redskins going into East Rutherford.
This is another tough one for me because it's a division game. The Giants at home, albeit on a short week coming off Monday night. But ultimately, I went with Washington, first place Washington Redskins, if you can believe that. Just because I don't think the Giants are a very good team, and I think they're trending towards that number one pick, and I think they ultimately get there with probably a 3-13 record. So give me Washington.
I like Washington, and I was thinking about picking them because I like the way they're going here. Chris Thompson on the verge of coming back, I think is going to be big for them to have it. Two different sides of that running game.
That offense is all injured right now. If they can get some of those guys back, it'd be huge.
That's the benefactor there for me. I think ODB is going to have a great game here. And I think Eli, as long as his O-line can just hold up long enough, he's got some weapons out there to kind of take care of business here. And the defensive side of the ball, man, they're not that bad.
Yeah.
They have some studs. Collins in the back, Vernon. You got a lot of guys in the front, too, that apply a lot of good pressure, but these are things that got to keep happening on a weekly basis here. So for that reason, I'm going to go with the Giants and think they're going to change things around here.
Really quickly, the Giants traded Eli Apple. Did they trade the wrong Eli?
I think you're right. Cleveland Browns going into Pittsburgh.
I'm not going to waste any more time talking about Cleveland. Pittsburgh wins. Cleveland sucks.
Yeah. I think I'm going to go with Cleveland's going to get their ass kicked. So we'll just leave it at that. Colts going into Oakland.
I really like Indy the way they're going right now, but ultimately, and they have a chance to win that division because it's crap. But ultimately, going across, to the West Coast there against a team coming off their bye. I know they don't have, their top offensive players in Lynch and Cooper, but I think somehow Oakland finds a way to win this game. Maybe it's a Carr saying, I'm good enough to be an NFL quarterback, keep me around game. And maybe that's why Oakland wins this game. So I'll take Oakland.
I'm going to go with Andy Luck here. I think Andy Luck's going to turn it around. I like Rodgers. I like T.Y. in fact that he's healthy here. And Ebron. Ebron's been one of the favorite tight ends to watch here. So give me that high-powered offense that's slowly coming together here into something special. I know Dot's got his Colts jersey to be wearing this weekend, so do what you got to do. Go blue, or whatever they call it, that. All right, 49ers coming into Arizona.
Like we said earlier, most irrelevant game of the week. Fantasy implications and regular, NFL, it doesn't really matter. I think Arizona with a new offensive coordinator gets it done. So I'll take the Cardinals.
I'm going to also take the Cardinals. I think they got what it takes to beat the Niners. As much as I like to disagree with you, I think Byron Left is going to be a big piece of their...
Just get David Johnson more involved. Please.
I think the game of the week for sure, Packers rolling into L.A.
Well, L.A. still undefeated. Green Bay coming off the bye. Green Bay hasn't been great on the road. And, L.A. is just a juggernaut right now. And I think they're going to probably take care of business. Not destroy the Packers. I think Aaron Rodgers keeps them in this game. But ultimately, it will be a 2-score game at the end of when the clock's hit, 0-0, and the Rams will be a 10-point victor.
I think this is going to be a really close game, actually. And I do think the Rams continue their undefeated streak here. But I think two big things are going to happen here. I think Aaron Rodgers is going to see the toughest defense he's seen all year. Yeah, the Bears are pretty good with Mac in the beginning of the year, and he's had his foes already that he's kind of out against. But the Rams, he's going to meet some tough players there, and it's not even their complete team. So I don't think he's running into something like this. So give me the Rams. Saints going into Minnesota.
This on paper seems to be the game of the week here, as you got, like I said, the miracle in Minnesota last year. New Orleans, somehow did not win that game, and Stephon Diggs somehow scored that touchdown. Still some of my favorite Photoshop pictures ever. I love them. So I think Minnesota is trending in the right direction right now. They're getting things going here, and I think they have so much offensively and just enough on the defensive side of it to come away with this victory here. And I hope this is a back and forth, up and down the field game that ultimately is decided by a touchdown by either Cousins or Breeze. And I hope I'm picking it's going to be Cousins that gets that late touchdown to win it.
Okay. I'm thinking that the Vikings are going to definitely come out on top here. I mean, I've been really big on Drew Brees here.
Absolutely.
And, the bad thing is Ted Ginn going down here. I mean, I know he wasn't getting the yards that Michael Thomas was. And, now they got the two-headed monster back. The dude got some weapons supplemented via Ingram. Cameron Meredith kind of came back. But Jaquan Smith, he's got to step into a bigger role. And I don't think he's ready for that. Be smart to utilize a guy like Meredith, a guy who can catch the ball, given just simple routes here, since the Bears haven't had a quarterback to throw anything in past years. So, he has some relevance in running them small things, but Drew Brees is not going to be able to withstand that Vikings defense. They're playing better. Vikings came off in a slump, and they shook that off, man. Any chance that any other team, albeit the Packers, Lions, or Bears, to take advantage of the Vikings is when they were down, with them 2 losses. Now that they're top of the division, they're not going to look back here. So I just look for Minnesota to take off here at this point. Monday night, this is going to be simple. Patriots or the Bills?
Well, Derek Anderson, of course, is the guy to go with. No, Tom Brady and the Patriots will continue to roll here and beat the Bills pretty easily.
Yep. Big game for Tom Brady. 5 TDs. Josh Gordon's going to take 3 of them.
Real quickly here, I didn't get to give me my stat of the week here.
What is it?
I'm going to throw it out real quick if you're still listening. Matt Ryan is the first quarterback in the Super Bowl era with 350 yards passing and 0 interceptions in 4 straight games. That's kind of remarkable. I've been talking about how good he has been all year, so he's still doing it. So real quickly also, Falcons, Cowboys, Titans, Chargers all on bye this week. So if you have any of those guys, get them out of your lineup.
Get them out of your lineup and put them on your bench.
And have a good week. We'll talk to you next week.
See y'all, folk.